Let's move on to a second problem. I sent the link in the chat. Take your time to read it and think about it. So the problem says, given a positive integer n, the question is, how many ways can we write it as a sum of consecutive positive integers? For example, if we are given 10, let's make this complete. For example, we're given 10. So how many ways we can write 10 as consecutive positive integers? So let's try, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 9, right? I think we can make 10 with some consecutive numbers. Oh no, this is 5, this is 10. Okay, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals to 10, right? Here are 5 and here are 5. So this is one way. So this is one way of writing 10 as the sum of 4 consecutive numbers. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Is there any other way to write 10 as 4 consecutive numbers? What do you think? I want someone to answer me.
Plus 3 plus 4.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
3 plus 3 plus 4.
3 plus 3 plus 4? No, so the question is, we want to write it as the sum of distinct consecutive integers. So sum of consecutive positive integers, that means that each integer is one time. So it's not clear in the statement, I know, but so something like this, like 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. That's it. So we can write each integer once, and they must be consecutive. Right? Do you get it? We cannot make this. It's not possible. So is there any other way to write 10 as sum of any consecutive numbers? Yeah, there's 10. Okay, so 10 is just one. So we can write it as the sum of one number. Okay. Yeah, 10. Is there any other way? I think no, because 5 plus 6 is 11, and 4 plus 6 is 9. So I think no, there is no other way. But you got the problem here. So let's take another example like 5 here. So 5, it says here that you can write it as the sum of 2 and 3 and 5. So 2 plus 3 equals to 5 and 5 equals to 5. For 9, we can write it as 2 plus 3 plus 4 and 4 plus 5 and 9. And for 15, we can write it from 1 all the way up to 5, and we can write it as the sum of 4 plus 5 plus 6 and 8 plus 7 and 15. Okay. Anyone can tell me how can we do this? Any ideas how we can find the number of ways? And of course, an n is up to 10 power 9. Okay. I'll let you think in it for 1 minute if you want to say any idea, even if it's too easy idea.
I think
Hmm.
this is again DP, I guess, because we need to check all the possibilities.
Your voice is too low. Can you keep your mic or something?
Yeah, I was saying this can be achieved through DP because we need to check all the possible values, right?
Yeah, so how do you think we can do it with DP? Or you're just saying that this is an approach that can work, but you don't know how exactly can we make it, right?
Yeah, I have to think, but because
Hmm.
we need to check all the possible uh, ways, right? So DP would be the.
Hmm.
I'm thinking DP would be the efficient way.
Okay. DP. Okay, so everything is possible, but for this problem, it's easier than this. Okay, so we might try to boil this thing down to just so easier thing. Okay, so let's see if we have some x, how should we get, for example, the smallest. So let's say we will have the smallest, um, so the smallest positive integer that can be in some consecutive number of integers that will form the sum. So for sure the smallest integer is 1, and if we want to make x as a sum of some consecutive integers starting from 1, so we have an equation that if we want the sum of the first, so if we want the sum of the first n consecutive integers, this will be equals to n times n plus 1 over 2. Did you all know that? Okay, so this is an equation of, if we want to get the sum of the first n consecutive integers, it will be n times n plus 1 over 2. So for example, if we want the sum of the first 4 integers, which is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. So this, as our equation here, will be 4 times 5 over 2, which is equals to 4 times 5 over 2, which is equals to 10. Okay, this is equals to 10, and this is equals to 10. So if we have this equation that gets us the sum of the first n consecutive integers, we could we could for somehow get the intended n for x. So if we have x equals to, for example, 15, so we could in some way try to make n. So here n is the greatest number, is the greatest integer we are looking for, the consecutive number starting from 1 to this integer. So if we are looking for 15, then the corresponding n here in this equation, the corresponding n would be 5. Why? Because 5 times 6 over 2 will be equals to 15. So what I'm trying to make now is that if I tried to take x, so if I try to take x and then loop and then make some loop that goes through I. So for int I equals to 1, for example, and I plus plus. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying if these consecutive integers, I'll try to match some consecutive integers that ends at I and starts from 1. Okay, and if I want to get the sum of these, it will be I times I plus 1 over 2. Okay, so that way I'll make sure that I can get the number of ways of forming x by consecutive integers, but in a condition that they start from 1. Okay, so in that, so I can make just a simple loop that calculates the number of possible ways to write x as a sum of consecutive integers, but they start from 1. Okay, but the answer didn't say that we should start from 1. We can make 2 plus 3 plus 4 or 5 plus 4 plus 6. So this should help us, right? But let's first solve this easier problem here, that we want to get the sum of consecutive, the number of ways that you can form it as a consecutive integers that starts from 1. So this will be, let's make this x. Okay, let's say we'll loop from 1. So we'll start from 1. So the number of consecutive integers starting from 1 until 1. And then what do you think the end of our I should be? So this is an important part. So n is up to 10 power 9, right? What do you think the end of our consecutive sequence should be? It shouldn't be x. Why? Because, so at least it should be something like that. So because we know that we are matching I that's starting from 1, and the sum of these consecutive integers should not exceed x. So I want to make that, I want to make sure that I times I plus 1 over 2 is more than or equals to x. Did you get that? So I'm increasing I, so I'll be equals to 1, then 2, then 3. And if at some point I times I plus 1 over 2 is greater than x, then I'll not continue the loop, because I'll now have some consecutive integers of some starting from 1 and some greater than x. So I cannot make anything smaller than that. Okay. So let's say here we have our answer equals to 0. And we'll just check, we'll just do one check. If I multiplied by I plus 1 over 2 equals to x, then answer plus plus, right? So now I know that I reached some consecutive integers starting from 1 and ending at I that have sum equals to x, right? So now I counted the number of ways to form these consecutive numbers, but only if they start from 1. But what about the other ways? So this should help us. Do you do you have an idea on how to transform, for example, how to transform 1 plus 2 plus 3 to 2 plus 3 plus 4? So to transform this to this, we can just add 1 to each integer here, right? So if we added here plus 1, plus 1, and here plus 1, so this will be equals to this, right? And I'll add 1 here, it will be 2. I'll add 1 here to be 3, add 1 here to be 4. So I transform it to, to the same one, right? So how to check if I have some x and I have some I? Okay, so here is our x, and here I'm standing at some I, and I'm having the condition that I times I plus 1 over 2 is smaller than x. So for sure, so what I'll say to you now is that this loop will not count anything except 1 or 0. So after finishing this loop here, after doing this operation only, so for sure I'll not answer will not be increased more than 1, because I'm just going from some smaller i's until I reach the one that will be equals to x, and then I'll break. So it will not be increased more than 1. Okay, but here if I times I plus 1 over 2 is more than x, so let's see if, for example, yeah, if they are smaller than x, and the difference between x and I times I plus 1 over 2 equals to exactly I. So what could happen here? Let's see an example here. We have I equals to 3, so I equals to 3. So that means we have 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is equals to 6. And we have x equals to 9. X equals to 9. So let's see what will happen. So now it's clear that I times I plus 1 over 2 is smaller than x, which is 6, is smaller than 9. So what happens if we add 1 to each one of these values? Oh, it reached 9, right? Why is that? Because 9 minus I times I plus 1 over 2, so 9. So if I get the difference between 9 and these three values, it will be 3. So that means that I could add, so I could divide these 3 and add every part in it at every integer here in these consecutive integers. Let's write this more formally. So I want to form x as, yeah, I want to form x as 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, or not like that. So it's 1 plus x, 1 plus k, for example, plus 2 plus k, plus 3 plus k, plus 4 plus k. So do you see that these are consecutive integers? Let's put brackets here. So for sure these are consecutive integers, right? It's k plus 1, k plus 2, k plus 3, k plus 4. And what I did here in this loop is that I made k equals to 0, right? So if I made k equals to 0, then I'm just saying 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. But if I made k equals to 1, then I added to this sum, I added here for this example, I added 4. So if I made k equals to 1, then I added k 4 more times, right? So let's factorize this. So this will be equals to 4k multiplied by 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Okay, where did this 4 came from? So this 4 actually equals to I, because I'm ending at 4, and that means so if I'm ending at I, then this will be x equals to ik multiplied by 1 plus 2 plus 3 and so on until I. Okay, did you get that? So what I'll do here is that I want to make sure that k is a divisor of the difference between x and this sum. So again here we have some sum here, x equals I times I plus 1 over 2 plus some k, okay, multiplied by I, for example. So I want to make sure that k is divisible by x, right? So what I'll do here is that I'll get the difference. Let's make it in the same if here. So instead of checking if I times I plus 1 over 2 equals to k, then let's make another thing. Let's make our smallest value that you can get here is I times I plus 1 over 2. So I want to add some k to make this equals to x. But what's the condition? So if x minus car, if x minus car mod I equals to 0. So if x minus 2 current is divisible by I, so for example, if it's divisible by L, then I could add I times once, right? So then answer plus plus. That's it. So that's how to calculate the answer. So for example, let's see one example here. Let's see the example of 5, or let's take 9. Okay. We have x equals to 9, and we are looping from I starting from 1. So let's say now that I equals to 1. So the value of current will be what? Will be 1 times 2 over 2, which is 1. Okay, so I times, so current will be equals to 1. So the sum of the first one consecutive integers, the sum of the first one consecutive integer is 1. That's it, right? But I want this one to reach 9. So what I'm doing here is that I'll check if x minus current, so 9 minus 1, so 9 minus 1, is it divisible by I? So if this 9 minus I minus 1 mod 1, is this equals to 0? Yes. So is the mod, so if is 9 minus 1, which is 8, is divisible by 1? Yes. So that means that I could distribute this 8 over the current. So I'll just add 8 to current, which will be 9, and we can form x of one consecutive integer, which is 9. So let's see. After going through 1, we'll go through 2. So what's the value of current now? So current will be 2 times 3 over 2, which is 3. So the value of current is 3. And here let's check. Is 9 minus 3 divisible by 2? So 9 minus 3, what's the value of 9 minus 3? It's 6. Yeah. So 9 minus 3 is 6. So 6 is divisible by 2? Yes. So what does that mean? So that means that I'll take this 6. So that for sure here I increased 1 after checking this. So 6 divisible by 3, right? So that means that I'll just no 6 divisible by 2. Yes, 6 is divisible by 2. So that means I could distribute this 6 over the 2, right? So initially I had 1 plus 2, which is the maximum value for I. So I had 1 plus 2. But there is left, so 9 minus 3 is 6. So I have 6 left, and I want to distribute them over these two. So I'll just add 3 here, 3 here, and 3 here. What I did here? So 1 plus 3 is 4, 2 plus 3 is 5. So I distributed this 6. So the difference between x and current, I distributed over the I, and then I reached our intended value, which is 9. So 4 plus 5 is 9. So let's take a look at the last one. I equals to 3. When I equals to 3, then current will be equals to 3 multiplied by 4 over 2, which is 6. So let's check. 9 minus 6 which is 3. Is 3 divisible by 3? Yes, of course. So I had here 1 plus 2 plus 3. And I want to distribute the remaining 3 over these 3 values. So what I'll do here is increase every one by 1. And I reached the goal. So this equals to 9. But if at some point the difference is not divisible by I, then I cannot distribute this value over these consecutive integers, right? So now for this simple loop, I just got all the possible ways with just checking if I can do the the consecutive numbers starting from 1 and then adding to them the difference between x and current. Okay, so everything is clear in this problem. Anyone have any questions? Any questions? So that means everything is understood or what? Okay. Let's try to run this. Yeah, I should return answer. So 5 output 2. Let's try 9. It's 3. Let's try 1. 1 should be 1. Okay. Okay, accepted. I sent the code in the chat here. Let's see the next problem. I sent it in the chat. Take 2 minutes to read it.